This is the regularly scheduled meeting, Board of Fire Commissioners. The date is Tuesday, November 27th. Actually, it's a special meeting.
Yeah.
It's not the regular meeting. Special meeting, Tuesday, November 27th, 2018, and it's about 9:05.
Let the record reflect Commissioners Ibarra, Ninberg, Hara, and Woodsgray are present, and we have a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you. Flag salute, moment of silence.
Everybody please stand, right hand over your heart, okay? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silence to honor the past and present members of the Los Angeles Fire Department who have devoted their lives to the protection of our community. Thank you.
So we start, as always, with our commissioner comments.
Shortly after the last commission meeting, I attended the retirement party for Andy Fox. And it's a great event. Chiefs Ruda and Hogan basically were the moderators and what have you. And I got to sit next to a number of our chiefs, including Chief Villanueva, who made it clear that he was not related to the new sheriff. But interestingly, the following morning on the radio, I hear Andy Fox. I didn't realize he was mayor of Thousand Oaks, and talking about the about the shooting. And then later that evening, with the Woolsey fire, here he is again, talking about the fire. So got a lot of exposure the following day after his retirement, retirement party from the fire department. And then this past Sunday night, I participated in the Hollywood Christmas Parade along with my family and likewise Dr. Woods Gray and her family.
I wouldn't title. Thank you.
Oh, did I call you Doctor? Sure.
I realize that you're used to dealing with doctors, so that's. Oh, good morning. Good morning. I want to first just thank our department for the work they've done doing the fires and maintaining a low rate of incidents and making it home safely. It's very important, but those fires were devastating just to watch. I have to tell you, it's really crazy, but the pictures you show of fires are beautiful. They look so pretty. But to think of the devastation under them, it's like you have mixed emotions. Is this pretty really, or is it not? But the pictures are beautiful, but the fact that it's destroying lives and nature and everything makes it really tragic. So, but I do thank the fire department for the work that they do. They seem to be extremely well prepared to just get rid of all of these incidents that we have in a timely manner, and also saving lives is really important, really important. We had less lives lost down here than they had up north. I don't know what that was all about, but I have a feeling it had something to do with the notification of people just not wanting to leave, it seemed like, also. But I did attend the parade with Dr. Hara, and it was fun. We always enjoy being out there on the parade route, seeing all the people, and everyone loves the fire department, so it was just always big applause, and people want to take pictures, and so that was it's always good, a good thing. And again, thank you to the department for all that they do.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. I, too, want to express my gratitude to the department and everybody who worked so hard to put out the fires and preserve property and lives. And I have to say, being here in Los Angeles, while it's terrifying, it does give me, and I know many here in Los Angeles, great comfort to know that we have one of the best fire departments in the world here. So thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to report of fire chief.
Thank you, Madam President. The calendar has been dominated by our efforts during the fires. Very proud of our people. We took a lot of actions. I know Chief Richmond's going to have a brief presentation, talk more in depth, but I'll say that we knew the weather was going to be bad days in advance. We staffed up. We had the Department Operations Center fully staffed. We were launching a lot of resources. At our peak, we had 10 strike teams, about 50 engines. About 1/3 of all our fire apparatus were in that fire. And we have to support the region, and especially LA County. They supported us last year during the fires we had. So very fortunate that the weather pushed it away from the city. Although we were at risk, we had a small area evacuated near Bell Canyon. But while we were providing help, we also had threats within the city. So we had to hold the off-going platoon, and our people stepped up. It was all hands on deck. We staffed up the night before with relative ease because they knew this was the big event. That's why you took the oath, and they stepped up and did an outstanding job. Subsequent to that, we've already had a critique with LAPD and EMD to figure out, is there anything we could have done better? We learned a lot. And we did that after last year's fires, too. We wanted to be honest and self-critical. What can we do better? And we're doing things better than we did last year, and we learned some things from this last deployment, and we'll be better the next time. I just hope that we don't have a next time. But I know that's unlikely to occur. You know, with the weather patterns that we're seeing, the Santa Anas will continue at least till April. So we're not out of the woods yet, but the rain is helpful. As long as it comes in small amounts, that'll be good for us. That concludes my report.
Madam President, I saw the helicopter rescue. Now, once they that was really something, and I love the videotape, the taping of the sounds that went with it. It made it so daring. But for those guys to go in there and do what they did to rescue and get the dog and who didn't want to go and got him on that helicopter and out of there, that was outstanding. They are to really be commended for that, the training that they get and the way they execute it.
Commissioner, thank you for bringing that up. Our people do amazing things every day, and we know about less than 10% of what they do. This one's unique because it's on video, and you see the fire approaching. And you can hear the discussion about where can they land. And I was concerned because they were talking about between the car and the pole, and that's a $18.5 million helicopter. But we're here to protect lives and property. And if we damage something trying to protect a life, I'm counting on our people to do a good risk versus gain, to take extreme risk if you can save lives. And this had a happy ending. They got them all out. Our people did great work, and I'm sure we're going to recognize them down the road.
Great. All right. So that's 2A. 2B is verbal report by the department, significant incidents from November 6th to November 26th.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chief Terraza, City Attorney, Deputy Chief Trevor Richmond, Operations Valley Bureau. I'd like to give you just a brief review of the Woolsey fire and our actual involvement with regard to resources. On Thursday, November 8th at approximately 2:30 in the afternoon, the Los Angeles Fire Department was dispatched as part of an initial action dispatch in the Mutual Threat Zone, or we call it the MTZ, to the Woolsey Canyon area, which is part of the unincorporated part of Ventura County at the Rocketdyne facility. The first arriving units on scene found a well-established 10-acre brush fire moving aggressively to the southwest. I was able to get up there very quickly and got with the incident commander from Ventura County. It was decided very early on that we would enter a unified command with LA County and Ventura County. The reason for this decision was that we were really concerned about the eastern flank of this fire moving into the city or Bell Canyon, and we wanted to be involved in developing the control perimeter for the fire. We commonly refer to as the box. And so we were able to do that as a unified command and develop those objectives for the incident. As you heard the fire chief state, we were experiencing particularly dangerous fire weather with sustained winds of 30 to 35 miles an hour coming out of the northeast with dangerously low humidities in the single digits. So the recipe was there for an aggressive fire to move very quickly. And if you recall from the news, that fire moved into the Oak Park, Thousand Oaks area by later that evening, which is pretty incredible. It moved that fast. Later the next day, it jumped the 101 freeway and then headed into LA County, primarily into Malibu Canyon. The extent of our involvement at the fire was primarily on the eastern flank of this fire. Like the fire chief said, we had 10 strike teams committed to the incident, and they were located in the Bell Canyon area, which we have a contractual obligation for the unincorporated part of Ventura County for Bell Canyon. So we were helping protect homes in Bell Canyon as well as the West Valley part of the city. We did do mandatory evacuations. They were south of Roscoe and north of Van Owen, and we had voluntary evacuations south of Van Owen. We had established evacuation centers at Canoga High School, Taft High School, and Pierce College for people and animals. No structures were lost in the city property. However, we did lose some homes in the Bell Canyon area. But this was a pretty devastating fire. And to put it into perspective, on the last day of perimeter growth, which I believe was on the 15th, a deputy chief from LA County showed me a map where he had put all the previous Malibu Canyon fires, all of them since 1962, fit inside the footprint of this fire. So pretty incredible fire. That ends my report. Any questions you might have?
Just great job for everybody in the department and you particularly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your leadership.
Thank you.
Also, we have a report by the medical director for the same time period, November 6th, November 28th.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief City Attorney. Good morning, Acela. Ellsworth Fortman, Assistant Bureau Commander, EMS Bureau. A couple incidents to talk about. On November 21st, at the airport at LAX, we had our cycle teams dispatched to a 39-year-old male who was complaining of being sick. This gentleman was sitting at a bar. He had a drink, waiting for his flight. He had vomited on himself, told our paramedics that he was embarrassed and just wanted to clean up and get on his airplane. They did 3 EKGs on him. It was a possible infarct. They told him he refused. All his other vital signs were stable. No medical history. He refused to go. They called the base station. The base station, MICN, and doctor both spoke with him, tried to get him to go to the hospital, adamantly refused. He ended up getting on his airplane 2 hours later. They started a taxi, and a flight attendant says, "You look really bad." And so they came back, basically kicked him off the plane, called 911. Our folks went back out on him, and he was, again, feeling sick, but not too bad. They convinced him to go to the hospital after he tried to refuse again. And he ended up going into arrest, in a VFib and cardiac arrest, in the back of the ambulance. Our folks immediately shocked him, treated him, and got him to UCLA Hospital, where he went straight to the cath lab. He was having an infarct and had a positive outcome from that. So all around good job both times on that incident. And then also on November 25th, we had Engine and Rescue 89 dispatched to a 69-year-old male. Had a witness cardiac arrest in front of his family. They called 911. Our call takers walked them through hands-only CPR. So CPR was initiated immediately. When we got there, our folks took over, shocked him, began all treatments, got him back to where he was actually conscious and awake upon arrival, got to the hospital, went straight into the cath lab, and also had a positive outcome. So 2 good incidents there.
Great.
Any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Chief. And so we have no presentations today, so we can somebody move the consent agenda items?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so 4A through 4E, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. So, first item on the regular agenda is a report by the department on the budget, final proposed budget for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Good morning, members. Emilio Rodriguez, Administrative Services Bureau. Pleased to present the department's final proposed budget submission for fire department. The proposed budget totals $699 million, approaching $700 million, which is $24 million above the current year. We have $675 million in the current year. This marks a 4.9% increase, almost a 5% increase above the current year. And given citywide budget constraints, the proposed budget identifies only the most critical departmental needs in order to continue providing the highest level of public safety. The department's focus, as shown in the budget request, itemizing the attachments of the report before you and basically codified in our 4-inch binder submission, is on funding for recruit training with 2 classes for 130 recruits in the Valley Drill Tower, continuing on successful innovations through expansion of the Advanced Provider Response Unit and FRV, the Fast Response Vehicles, and bringing the SOBR unit on budget from its current pilot state. Continuing the restoration of resources through safer grant support, including a light force in Wilmington. That'll put 21 positions as continuations in the budget. Additional youth program staffing and expense funding to support magnet and cadet programs, fire inspection staffing to capture underground storage tanks and abandoned oil wells, soda fountain dispensaries, and brush clearance at homeless encampments, and to provide additional supervisory support for the Cooper program. Restoring funding for a standards of cover study, and finally field equipment and technology upgrades to optimize firefighter and public safety. The most significant changes from the preliminary proposed budget heard back on October 16th, which also incorporated the board's input at the time, includes a new alternative destination response unit, which is a pilot program to assess and transport individuals with acute alcohol intoxication to sobering centers or mental health care urgent care facilities. This is slightly different from the SOBR program in that it provides actual transport to varying facilities. And that's going to bring 3 firefighter PMs on board. Organizational study to assess workplace cultural issues and enhance personnel management capabilities. That's an additional $250,000 added for that effort. Access to medical and accident insurance and training to reduce liability and improve standardization of the LAFD cadet program. That's an additional $12,000 through the Learning for Life organization. And fire captain position for tier dispatch system support. And finally, this was a last minute add-on through our FPB for publication of the city's fire code to incorporate changes consistent with State of California amendments taking effect in January 2020, which occurs on a 3-year cycle. So we're going to need funding for that next year to comply with the publishing requirements. Collectively, the department's budget requests amount to $727 million, which includes the MICLA component for the fleet replacement cycle and some unappropriated balance components. Pretty much concludes my presentation. I welcome any questions.
I'm just curious about the alternative destination response unit. I mean, I think it's a great thing if it's like the SOBR unit, but I just want to know how it's different or more.
Thank you. That's a good question. This came up recently after Governor Brown did not sign the legislation that would allow our paramedics to transport directly to specialty centers, either the SOBR center or the mental health clinic. So the state reached out to us and asked if we were still interested in running a pilot program where, with additional training, paramedics can do that transport that the legislation would have allowed. It is a pilot to do that. We want to create a new program with a new vehicle. These medics would be on a 410. They would roll out the door, and if they could clear the patient to be transported to a specialty center, a paramedic unit would be requested, and they would transport, making available the AD unit, alternative destination unit. So this is an innovative program. It's actually, in some ways, works a little more seamlessly than the advanced provider. We're still going to have that, but that is what that line item is for. We're excited to pilot it, and we're optimistic about the results.
Okay, and what about our advanced providers? Are they, do we have one in the field for all bureaus now?
We do. There is a master plan for that. It will be included in the EMS strategic plan. We are obligated to fulfill our partnerships with all the hospitals that provided funding. So we are in the process of trying to hire a few more advanced providers. There's been more difficulty than we initially anticipated, but we are revamping that a little bit. We're looking at salary and different work schedules to attract more applicants, but we do have 4 of them operational right now.
Are they staffed?
Yes.
Okay. And so in here we're adding another one?
Yes. We're going to continue with the effort to hire additional APs, and then the additional medics that we're asking for will staff the alternative destination apparatus.
Okay.
Oh, I had this question, and I've lost my whole page. For the LAFD Youth Preparatory Programs, there's a staffing request for a firefighter. Is that new? Is that going to be a new position? They'll just work with the youth programs?
Yes, that'll be a new position to augment current staffing, which includes a senior project coordinator, and there's a fire captain assigned as well.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
The resources for that's on page 6.
Yeah.
We met with recruitment extensively, Chief Kepner, to assess their needs, and we placed that line item in accordance with what her needs are. So we're making progress in there. It is slowly growing. If I could bring your attention to the item below that, item 19 is the Cadet to Firefighter program. This is a very innovative pilot. We want to be able to hire part-time cadets who are already active in the cadet program to be the third person on an ambulance. That'll help them develop a resume, get exposed to emergency incidents, the culture of the LAFD, and it helps our paramedics when you have a third person, another set of hands to carry equipment, help with a patient. Sometimes you're able to release engine companies, make them available for another call while those 3 people can handle the incident where it would have been the engine and the rescue. So everybody wins in this. This is a early step, and if it's successful, we're looking to expand it.
How much is it per hour?
I don't know the hourly rate. It's going to be something similar to the student worker salary rate.
It was roughly in the $18 per hour
Oh,
estimate.
great.
Great.
That's great. That's great.
That'll blend in nicely with the youth programs working on getting their EMTs. So that would be fantastic. We have a full pipeline going all the way through.
Right.
Thank you so much for the support. This is great.
Anything else?
No, that's good.
Thank you. So can somebody move to approve the recommendations for the report?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Madam President, I move that we, what do we do? That the board approve the recommendation of BFC 18-136.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. So 5B is report by the department on the FireStat section status report. Untiered FireStat meetings, data trends from 2016 to the third quarter of 2018.
Good morning, Madam President,
Morning.
members of the board, Chief Terrazas, City Attorney.
My name's Steve Skelly. I'm Battalion Chief assigned to the Fire Stat section. In 2017 and the first 3 quarters of 2018, the department's continued our performance management process through tiered Fire Stat. The tiered process is designed to promote communication through all ranks with the goal of expanding the department's engagement at all levels. Since the implementation, the department has held Fire Stat inspection meetings in all 4 geographic bureaus and on all 3 platoons for the calendar year 2017 and thus far in 2018. Through Fire Stat, the department has seen citywide improvements in turnout time by an average of 14 seconds. This is the time of the activation of the station alarm system when our members don their PPE, board the apparatus, and are en route. Fire Stat inspection meetings have also been held in various bureaus, divisions, and sections within the administrative operations. Improvements in the ability to track and meet benchmarks have been seen across the board in our administrative bureaus that participate in the inspection meeting process. An example would be a supply and maintenance division has able to identify and streamline some issues with the self-contained breathing apparatus fit testing, which has increased their work productivity. Also, Fire Stat is working on all levels to establish a foundation of performance management that improves the department's effectiveness and efficiency. Also note that the Fire Stat section will track some outside influence that may affect response times, things like weather or right now, like the nurses' strike going on at LA County Hospital, that could affect our response times due to increased hospital wall time and rescues crossing districts. The Fire Stat section is also acts as the stewards of the department's databases. We serve as both internal and external requests for information and data reports. You'll see in the report, the attached graphs will help visualize the department's response times for call processing time, turnout time, travel time, and operational response. The graphs show the monthly averages of the metrics from 2016, 2017, and the first 3 quarters of 2018. They have been analyzed for EMS incidents, non-EMS incidents, as well as critical advanced life support and operational response times. As you're reviewing those graphs, you'll notice a reverse dip, or a dip in operational response times. I wish that was our members getting even better. However, it's a technological glitch in the CAD system that had a 10-day period in April of 2018. That glitch has been repaired. Fire Stat section continues to reanalyze that data, ensuring that future reports are accurate. The Fire Stat continues to evolve as we add technology and as we continue to manage the department's performance with Fire Stat. The department is able to analyze its effectiveness and efficiency at all levels, and that concludes my report. I'd like to answer any questions.
Okay. I think it looks good. Do you have the numbers for increased call load over time? So I mean, I know that the call load's increasing, but the numbers are remaining the same and static, which is great, which means that they're working even harder, right? If the call load is increasing,
yes,
and they're still maintaining the low turnout time.
And I need to speak for the CAD, but
I mean, I just think
we definitely we have an increased call loads,
right,
and increased which is a correlate increased responses without much of an increase in personnel.
I can add to that a little bit too. The reason we're able to handle increasing call load, and it averages about a 1.5% to 2% per year increase every year. But tiered dispatching allows us to modify our CAD algorithms to send the most appropriate resource. So we're able to conserve our resources. So although the call load's going up, because of TDS, our dispatches, our dispatch units go up at a much slower pace. So that's the value of tiered dispatching. It's a faster call processing. It's more accurate dispatching of needed resources. When they look and they see that we transport over 50% of the time on a particular incident type, we'll always send a transport resource. But if we're finding that we transport less than that, we'll only send a fire engine, keeping the ambulances in reserve for the next call. So that's the beauty of tiered dispatching. we haven't spoken enough about the value of that. Other fire departments come all the time to our dispatch center because they want to replicate that. And we've actually been started working with the city attorney about possibly copywriting that process. So we're very proud of that, and that's how we're able to manage 500,000 calls each year.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I just think it's impressive that the numbers are going up and it's remaining static.
We actually have talked about tiered dispatch, but not in a while. I feel like it's been over a year.
Yeah, we can
2 years. So we should,
Down the road.
yeah, because
Sure.
that's well, I don't even know if it's proprietary because, like you said, we haven't looked into that, but it's what we developed.
One of the items in our budget is a staff person for Captain Warfel to support tiered dispatching because that's a critical need.
Yeah,
Right.
that's one of the really great innovations of the department.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Chief, you'll be happy to know that the nurses' strike was averted. They settled last night.
Outstanding.
Oh, great.
A tentative settlement. Let's hope it stays, because
So it was a 1-day strike, so we probably won't see a huge change in our numbers.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I think it was going to be
you.
longer than 1 day.
So that concludes. Can somebody move this?
I'm
move to
sorry.
it? Yes.
Hey, do you want to
Oh yes. We don't have a. Why don't we move it?
Oh.
And then we'll.
Okay, move to receive and file 18-137.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Chief just reminded me, we don't have a public comment, but we usually have one from UFLAC, and we have a new UFLAC president. But we think
Is
he's
he
left.
here?
Bring him
Oh,
in.
he's in the hallway, because I kept looking.
He's gone.
No,
Oh,
he's
he's
right
here.
there in the hallway. I could see him
So,
through the door.
Fire Chief just wanted us to recognize our new UFLAC president. After 2 years, we all, we had a good relationship with Tony Gamboa, and now we have Freddie Escobar as new president of UFLAC. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
Ordinarily, there'd be a public comment card, but you didn't fill one out, so. But congrats.
Thank you very much, and also like to take this opportunity to recognize Tony. He's been on the executive board for the last 10 years, the last 2 years as our president, and I want to make it very clear that the transition is professional, and we're going to continue our relationship with the fire chief and all his command staff.
Great, thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, President Escobar.
Thank you. So that concludes our meeting. Can somebody move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.